Hi guys, we're going to continue with our work with functions today, and we're going to add something called a return type or value to a function. So make sure you have watched the video on functions and parameters, so that way the stuff we're using today will make a little more sense going forward. So we're going to make a new playground, and we'll just call the playground return types. I can go ahead and call it that here, and let's get into a playground here and show you what we're gonna this new concept here today. So let's go ahead and delete out the filler code that's in there right now. So basically what we're looking to do with a return value is if we want our function to return something rather than just print it out. If you remember from our last lesson, we were just printing our things out using the print line statement. Again, I'll just get one up here again just to refresh our memories here. I'll just do a very simple one here. Println. So again, there we go. So when we set this up, again, very simply, we didn't return anything on this one. We just printed to the console. So if we want to return a value, we got to make some slight changes here to, or not changes, I should say, we got to add a few more things to our function so that when we call it, we can return a value. Because again, when we call this function right now, we're just printing to the console here. We're not returning it, as you can see, because there's nothing right here. It's only showing up when we print that out. All right, and actually what we'll do as well, let me get my assistant editor up here as well so we can see our console. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at returns. I'll just put functions and return. So the first thing, let's just show how this works. So we're going to create a function called my birthday. All right, we're going to create a function that, every year we have a birthday, we get 1 year older. So we're going to create a function that does that. So we can, we can call this function and add the year. So that's exciting, for you as you're getting older and older, but eventually it's not so exciting when that age keeps adding on there. But either way, as you can see, we're going to start off the same way, func, and then my birthday, and then we got to call the parameters that we want to call. So what do we want to pass here? So we're working with age, so we're going to have a parameter called age, and we'll make this of type int. Okay, so far everything is the same. Okay, so we got our function keyword, we got the name of the function, and then we've got our parameter that we're going to pass it a number. So the user's going to pass a number into our function here, and then the function will use that number with the math we set up here in a moment. So the return of value, the symbol you got to use right there is it's the minus symbol on your keyboard and the right facing caret, if you want to call it. But that's the symbol to identify that we're going to return a value on this function. So then we got to return, and you can return ints, strings, all the types we talked about earlier. So for this one, we want to return an age. It's going to be a number, so we're going to return an int. Okay, and then from there, the curly braces go in, and then we're ready to go. You'll notice we have an error because right now, if you click on this, it'll say we're missing a return. So again, we said we're going to return a function. Inside here, we do have to add a return statement. We'll get to that in a moment, but so that error will go away. So don't worry at this point with that error. We'll fix that up. So just like yesterday, we're gonna compute something inside this function. All right. So the function is going to do some work for us here. So we're going to figure out what the new age is on each person's birthday. So we're going to go new age. Okay, and then from there, we're going to take the parameter that gets passed in. So we're going to take whatever the person types in here, whatever number, we're going to add 1 to that, and that's going to be our new age. Okay, so then we just need to return, all right, the new age. Okay, so we return our new age value, and you'll notice the error goes away because now we do have a return value in our function, because again we said, hey, we're going to return a value, so we do need to have this. So now when we call this function, my birthday, so I'll put my age in here, 36. You'll notice it returns a value of 37 because it took the value I put into the function, put it through all this code here, and spit out the new age of 37. Okay, so that is a return value with a function. Okay, so the additions are the little symbol here, the return symbol. All right, and then just whatever type you want that to be. What you could do as well, if you wanted to simplify, I'm going to comment this out here. If you wanted to simplify, this into one line of code, you could just return age plus 1. Okay, so that's going to give you the same result because again we're just taking the age and plus and putting in by 1. So each one works the same. All right, this is just obviously one line of code there, so a little simpler. So that is a return value of a function there. Okay. Next thing I'm going to show you is something that is referred to as a tuple, a tuple. It's going to be, however you want to pronounce it, tomato, tomato. That's, it's up to you there, but I'm going to refer to it as a tuple. So basically, this is if you want to return more than one value, you can do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and create another function here, and we'll keep this one. We'll just call this one my numbers. All right, this one won't really have too much. We're just going to add up some numbers here. And then we're going to pass it 2 parameters. So we're going to have one parameter called number1 of type int, and then, typo on my part there, and then that's why. There we go. Okay, attention to detail. And then the second one, number2, will be of type int as well. Okay, so there's our parameter. So we're going to pass it 2. Okay, so now when I want to return 2 values, or a tuple, all right, same thing here. I'm going to use my return arrow. All right, so minus sign and then the caret, and then I'm going to return one number. And that's going to be of type int. And then I always just use that comma 2 number, and that is of type int as well. So now again I've gone through and I'm going to return 2 values. All right, so our initial function is set up at this point here. Again, we need to return something. We'll get that set up in a moment here. But before we do that, what do we want to have happen here? So let's say we're using these numbers to figure out, a score. All right, maybe a game. This is a game we're figuring out, the score of a player. So why don't we create a variable called score1? All right, and we're going to take the input from number 1, and we're going to add that to the input of number 2. Okay, for score number 1 there. Okay, and then why don't we go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and figure out the second score. All right, and that's going to be number 2, all right, minus number 1. Okay, so it's very simple here, but I just want to have 2 values to work with. So now when we return our value, again, we said we wanted to return 2 ints, 1 number int and 2 number int. Okay, so very important here, as when we return that, we got to return 2 values. Up here we just returned 1. So we said return age plus 1. So here we're going to return, okay, our scores, because these are ints, so we're going to return score 1 and score 2. Oop, there we go. And then go ahead and complete that out, and then we'll let that compile, and now our error goes away. Okay, so now we're returning 2 values. All right, because again we said, hey, I want to return 1 number and 2 number, so these are the values that are going to come back here. Okay, so now when we call this function my numbers, all right, so if we had 40 and 50, all right, we'll see. Okay, here we go. We've got over here, we've got 90 and we've got 10. Now the 0.0 and the 0.1 that are showing, those are basically the placeholders. Those are the index values of these. So you always start at 0, and then so that's the 90s, and is at 0, 10's at 1. That doesn't affect the value. That's just kind of the organization of it there. So a quick email coming in through there. So anyway, so now I've returned 2 values. All right, so again, I've given the user the ability to put in 2 numbers and get 2 results out there. All right, so that's how a tuple works. So with that too, you could also assign your tuple to to a variable. So I could say var scores is equal to my numbers. We can go 30 and 40. Okay, so now you can see same things happening. All right, 70 and 10 is our numbers. If you look at the math, trust me, it's right there. Again, I could call out scores. Okay, and then from there I can access my different parts. If it's a score 1 number, all right, is 70. Okay, so again, 1 number comes back to up here. All right, and then that's 70, and then you could come down here and I could just go score dot 2 number, and that's going to be equal to 10. Okay, because those are the values that are being returned here. So that's how a tuple all works in. So we'll use a tuple in our challenge, and then also in our review challenge that we're going to do here over the next day. But again, the idea of a tuple, again, so it's basically if you just feel the need, you need to return 2 values. So whatever that could be for many reasons, you just need to specify it with your with your return values. And again, just like we did up here, just by specifying int, the only thing that's different is you just need to label them because you got 2 different values, 1 number and 2 number, and it just gives a little more clarity to what that is going to be there. So I'm trying, yeah, thinking we're pretty much good here with return values. So again, with questions and comments, just let me know. All right, but again, we'll cover this in class, or maybe you're watching this as review. So if you missed the lesson in class and this is still a little unclear, just see me when you get back into class tomorrow or the next couple days, and we'll be sure to help you out there. But thanks for following along here, and that'll go ahead and that'll conclude another lesson for us. So thanks a lot, guys.